Hello, class. First of all, I am recording this at home, so please ignore any cat meows or puppy squalls or growls or things like that. Secondly, I'm going to walk you all through rhetorical analysis, and I'm going to use content that was created in my Tuesday and Thursday Composition 1 class. Before we get into that, I would like to show you just some writing resources that I posted on the online campus. So if you do click on content and start here, I've added two categories, MLA resources and other resources. If you look under MLA resources, I have actually uploaded an MLA template for you all to use that's just like basic manuscript form. So when you look at it here, it's not going to look like MLA, but once you download it, it will look like MLA format. Under other resources, I've just added a few things that you might find helpful. For example, a direct link to make a tutoring appointment. Also, a Comp 1 library guide, which we'll actually look at during class eventually. And then some other resources here are there. So, all right. Let's go ahead then and just talk about the rhetorical analysis writing process. So this is the pre-writing that my Tuesday and Thursday class generated during class. What we did was look at Nia Tuckson's essay and the notes that we took on it on the document camera or the projector, if you remember doing that in class. And what we did was just try to make sense of everything. So I'm just going to walk you through what we did. We started just by breaking down each paragraph. So we looked at the intro and we said, okay, the intro appeals to our reader's logic because it has a clear thesis statement. It's set up like a problem solution. And then it also previews supporting claims. We also noticed that it grabbed our attention. So we wrote, okay, well, because it was a new idea and also because it used a joke that appealed to our emotions, right? It made us maybe laugh or, at least think a little bit, right? Okay, so we then moved on to our jobs topical paragraph and said it also appealed to our logic because the topic's appropriate for the first body paragraph. It also uses some examples or scenarios that, remember, address a variety of professions from healthcare and so on, and that the order is appropriate. We also talked about the diction in this paragraph, but also the other paragraphs. And what diction means is word choice, right? So think of diction as in dictionary. Then we moved on to our knowledge paragraph and said, well, it appeals to a value because we all value being knowledgeable. Okay, we mentioned word choice again, and we also noted that this paragraph contains a concession or a little address of the opposition, so it does have an opposing viewpoint in it. We moved on to our kind of tourist or travel paragraph and talked about how it was trying to make us feel guilty by appealing to our emotions, but also to a value of our civic duty. We also, address the other topic as well, okay? Let's see. Okay, and then our refutation paragraphs, we just kind of lumped into one web. We talked about how the first refutation paragraph talks about compromising, that the paragraphs do concede here or there. Remember, give credit to the opposition, that they're both starting with the qualifying word some instead of like all or many. Okay, so some, and that creates some parallelism. And what that means is that the paragraphs are parallel, or they look sort of the same. They both start with some students, and that, of course, is going to appeal to readers' logic. And then we also talked about the extended illustration in the second paragraph. Another little thing that we decided to do over here was just note that it had really good transitions throughout, that would appeal to our logic, right? And it proves cohesion, okay? It glues everything together, right? The transitions from paragraph to paragraph and then within each paragraph. So once we got that far, I posed a question to the class and I said, would you rather analyze the rhetoric, analyze Nia Tuckson's rhetoric spatially? So that means writing basically paragraphs as we move through her essay and analyzing her essay, or would you rather do it thematically? And some students said spatially, some said thematically. And from there, we talked a little bit about which method of organization or pattern of organization would actually work best for this rhetorical analysis of Nia Tuckson's essay. And we decided that thematically would be best, and that we would create one body paragraph that addresses how she appeals to our, as readers, our logic. And we would focus on like structural elements. We would create another paragraph focusing on her appeals to logic, looking at the content, so the thesis statement, the examples and scenarios, and the illustration. And then the third paragraph, we decided, would simply focus on refutation, okay, the third body paragraph. And that's if we were just doing a typical 5-paragraph essay. If we were doing, a 6, 7, 8-paragraph essay, we would find more topics or themes, okay? For example, we might do a paragraph on how effective the conclusion is or something along those lines. Again, analyzing the rhetoric or how effective Nia Tuckson is in her essay, okay? All right, so from there, we created a formal outline. And, of course, we have the manuscript form heading over here. You all will want your title just to say formal outline, and then, give it just a little working title. Okay, and then page numbers and last name up in the right-hand corner. You will add a working thesis statement to the top. Okay, and this follows the formal outline that's laid out in your rules for writers. I think it's on page 102. Okay, so put your working thesis statement up here, and my Tuesday, Thursday class decided in her essay titled Why Foreign Language Studies Should Be Required, Nia Tuckson makes several effective appeals to her audience's values. That would be our working thesis statement, and we would come back and change it, okay? So we started our outline, and we kind of got stumped in our intro. And remember, I said sometimes, when you're drafting, it's easier to write the introduction last. Well, same thing applies to your outline. If you try to come up with the different things you're going to say in your outline first, it might be quite hard. So we went ahead and just outlined our first body paragraph where we're talking about appealing to logic. And so they came up with the working topic sentence. Again, it needs to be lengthened and added some detail into it. But Nia Tuckson uses rhetorical structures to appeal to logic. And then we went ahead and addressed 3 ways she does that. So we said, and I'm going to switch this just a little bit, because whenever we generated them, we did them out of order and then we reordered them. Let's see. All right, so I just added in some transitional elements to maintain cohesion in there, but our some working sentences in the paragraph. One way she appeals to logic is by identifying a problem and exploring a solution. And so some things that we would mention, okay, like some added detail. She addresses a need for foreign language study. She uses the word problem to identify this need. She explains the benefits of her solution. Then we moved on. She also presents her topical paragraphs in a logical order. She begins with work as one of her supporting claims. She then moves into a discussion about knowledge. She wraps up her supporting claims by, we're going to add some sort of ing word there, and we didn't come up with it, Americans as tourists in other countries. So by talking about or discussing or whatever. Okay, Americans as tourists in other countries. And then the other example we were going to give in this paragraph, another way she appeals to logic is by using transitions or transitional elements. And we were just going to briefly discuss transitions from paragraph to paragraph and then from sentence to sentence. So I then posed the question to the class, which of these would we need to use, say, direct quotations in? Because remember, depending on which grade path or adventure that you choose, you may have to use 2 direct quotations in your essay. You may have to use 3. You may have to paraphrase here or there. And the class decided that this example, by using transitions, would be the best or most appropriate place in the first paragraph to use a direct quotation, simply because you are talking about something so specific that you would need to provide directly quoted evidence for it. For example, you might actually set up a quotation where you show your reader, okay, so create a visual, show your reader Tuckson's transitions, right? So a transition from a paragraph to paragraph, or maybe a list of transitions she uses from sentence to sentence. And so this would create a pretty well developed paragraph, right? We would end up with, if we created a sentence for each of these little points, right? So 3, 6, 7, 8, and then 9, 10, 11, 12, okay? And if we add directly quoted evidence in there, it's going to be even longer. So it's going to be a nice, well-developed paragraph. And so we kind of ended there, but you can still see how you can really go ahead and just form a basic structure for each of your paragraphs in this way. Ideally, we would want to, again, do this for each of the body paragraphs, the conclusion, and then go back and also do it for our introduction. And underneath our introduction, we would basically just list maybe how we would preview our supporting claims or topic sentences. We would maybe add in, any kind of other background information, any other kind of sentences we're thinking about using. So for those of you who are pursuing Adventures 3 or 4 and do have to submit a formal outline, this is the method that you will use. If you are pursuing Adventure 1 or 2 and you still want to turn in an outline, that's perfectly fine as well. Because remember, throughout this process, you can always kind of skip ahead or drop down in your adventure. If you feel like you want more of a challenge, you can, add on and go for Adventure 4. Or, if you're in Adventure 3 and you feel like it's a little too challenging, you can always drop down to Adventure 2. All right, so it is flexible in that way. Just really choose a path that you are comfortable pursuing, and especially in this first quest of ours, you want to make sure that you choose one that you're capable of producing the work for. Because you can always step up in Quest 2 to Adventure 3, okay? So you can always work your way up like that if you'd like. And, that might be most comfortable for you. All right, so this concludes our brief mini lecture on writing a rhetorical analysis. Please contact me through Remind. Send me a little text through there if you have any questions. Or you can email me through Online Campus. I will say, though, during the weekends, I check Online Campus maybe just a couple times, so it's probably best to do the Remind app. All right, so thanks for watching and listening, and I hope this has been helpful.